Celebrity weddings are usually a popular subject in Hollywood. Even if we like a well-known power couple, the most dramatic tales are those of celebrities falling in love with non-industry individuals. Before meeting Amal Alamuddin, heartthrob George Clooney was sure he would never marry or have children. Let's take a deeper look at the love story of George and Amal Clooney and how they've managed marriage, kids, and their incredible jobs while being a model couple. A star is born. Nina Bruce, a pageant queen and councilwoman, and Nick Clooney, an anchorman, brought their first son, George Timothy Clooney, into the world on May 6, 1961. Clooney had a pretty typical and unremarkable childhood in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. Clooney was exposed to Tinseltown at an early age than usual, thanks to his television father and his aunt, cabaret singer Rosemary Clooney. His closest relatives could not have foreseen the degree of success and notoriety he would soon achieve. Early struggle. Like many other celebrities, George Clooney didn't always have it easy. In middle school, he had his first major setback when he was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, a disorder that paralyzes a portion of the face. Ever the optimist, Clooney saw the positive side of the challenging experience, even if the ailment disappeared after a year. He told NPR, "I think it's good that it happened to me because it made me do a lot of self-loathing." Clooney's reputation quickly gained recognition. College life. Clooney excelled in high school, playing basketball and baseball and earning decent marks. In 1977, he even gave professional baseball a go with the Cincinnati Reds, but he was cut before he could make it. Clooney enrolled at Northern Kentucky University and majored in broadcast journalism since he knew a future in athletics was out of the question. He attended the University of Cincinnati briefly but did not complete his degree. As an extra in the 1978 miniseries Centennial, which was shot near his hometown, Clooney made his acting debut. The fact that this would be the first of many surprises him. Destined for greatness. Amal Alamuddin was born in Beirut, Lebanon, worldwide on February 3, 1978, the same year George Clooney scored his first gig. Amal fled Lebanon at age 2, settling in Buckinghamshire, England, with her 3 siblings and parents, Ramzi and Baria. From a young age, Alamuddin had her eyes set on being a lawyer. After earning a bachelor's degree in law from Oxford, she got a master's degree in law from New York University. Even though Amal and George were making notable professional advancements, the others were unaware of this. However, that would soon alter. Big break. During the 1980s and 1990s, Clooney starred in various comedies and television shows, including the CBS comedy The Golden Girls, ER, and Return of the Killer Tomatoes, his first horror film. He was advancing in his career as an actor. George Clooney's breakthrough performance and first taste of big-time fame came in the character of Dr. Doug Ross on ER. In addition to conquering the hearts of the country, he received nominations for 2 Emmys and 3 Golden Globes in his 5 years in the role. Leading man. Clooney became a household name in 2001 after starring as Danny Ocean in the classic heist comedy Ocean's 11. This performance solidified Clooney's status as a leading man with co-stars Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon. The soon-to-be pair were secretly competing with one another to become the best in their respective vocations. After passing the bar in 2002, Alamuddin worked for the UN's Office of the Prosecutor in The Hague. She started practicing law in England in 2010 and has emerged as a preeminent figure in international human rights. It would be an understatement to describe these two as powerhouses. However, they were just beginning. As leading men do. Following his triumph in Ocean's 11, George Clooney's good looks were the center of attention. Fans were curious about his next move. As many celebrities do, Clooney increased his real estate holdings in 2002. The Washington Post claims that Clooney paid the Heinz family an estimated $10 million for the Villa Oleandra, stunning home in Laglio, Lake Como, Italy. Clooney was unaware of the property's impending significance. Settling in Italy. When George Clooney wasn't playing the lead in Hollywood blockbusters, the romantic setting looked like the ideal spot for him to live in. In 2004, the Ocean's 12 cast paid a visit to the villa. In 2010, Emily Blunt wed John Krasinski on the property. Clooney had no idea that his first unexpected encounter with the love of his life would occur at this house of all locations. Two different worlds. These two were not quite in the same social circles. One was a human rights lawyer who regulated international law, while the other was a bachelor who stole hearts in Hollywood. Not the kind of couple that would ever meet, yet you'd be mistaken about that. You'd think meeting possible love partners would be challenging when you're George Clooney. Clooney accomplished it all from the comforts of his own home, and his agent's assistance was the key to it all. Serendipitous meeting. Along with a familiar friend of Clooney's, Amal Alamuddin, traveled to Lake Como in July 2013 en route to Cannes, France. "I'm going to drop by. Can my buddy come?" as he subsequently revealed on My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman. His buddy approached Clooney. George had no more information about this friend, not even her name, but his agent ensured the celebrity wouldn't pass up what he knew would be a once-in-a-lifetime chance. The agent always knows. Clooney's agent intervened with a premonition that would alter everything as he prepared for his dinner party. Clooney informed David Letterman that he had received a call from his agent saying, "I met this woman who's coming to your house, who you're going to marry." Clooney's parents would also be there, making this supper even more significant. He recalls, "We just talked, stayed up all night talking." George and Amal had a spark, but it would take more encounters to solidify their relationship. Pen pals. Following that memorable meal, the two exchanged email addresses and started corresponding this way when Alamuddin left for Cannes. Although Clooney was enthralled, the Casanova didn't immediately commit to the relationship. Clooney wasn't sure whether they were only being nice or if it was happening because of how informal things were via email. He told Letterman, "I just assumed we were friends and didn't know if she wanted to go out with me." Things were only becoming hotter between the two, and it would be weeks before they saw one another again. Something's beginning. Because of their age gap, Clooney was uncertain if Alamuddin felt the same about him as he did about her. George told The Hollywood Reporter, "I thought she was smart and funny, and I thought she was beautiful. They were about to experience what the rest of their lives would be like. She probably thought I was old," he said. However, after 3 months, it was evident that they were becoming more than just friends. Clooney then took a risk and invited Amal to see him in London in October of that year. Privacy out the window. For their first official date, Alamuddin paid Clooney a visit at Abbey Road Studios as he was busy in London overseeing the recording of the music for his movie Monuments Men. This would have allowed them to get to know one another better. Still, Clooney had another reason for the evening. He knew he couldn't avoid the paparazzi, so he used it to see how she would handle the attention in their private lives. Doesn't bother her. The paparazzi would inevitably be no match for Amal Alamuddin. "There were 50 paparazzi when we came out, but she handled it like a champ," Clooney recalled to The Hollywood Reporter. Now that he knew his new woman could handle this high-profile lifestyle, he knew he was in it for the long haul. From then on, their relationship grew, and they lived in London for a long time. It was beginning to appear that Hollywood's iconic heartthrob was finally off the market. One trip changed everything. This power couple in the making spent Christmas together in Mexico before taking a trip to Africa 7 months after their first meeting, which would change everything. In February 2014, George and Amal went on a safari in Kenya, where giraffes were Amal's favorite animal, so this was a dream come true. Little did she know that Clooney had other plans – marriage. Although he wasn't aware of it then, this trip reassured him that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with Amal Alamuddin. Planning the proposal. I had a picture of her, looking back, smiling at these giraffes, and I said, "I think I'm going to ask her to marry me," George told The Hollywood Reporter after showing his friend a picture of Amal from their trip back to Los Angeles, after which he knew he wanted to pop the question. The celebrity, of course, did not spend any time carrying out his plan. Celebrity proposals are often grandiose, but the Clooneys don't operate that way. Big day. One of the most important days in this couple's relationship history was April 28, 2014. After 6 months of dating a Hollywood movie star, Alamuddin's parents unavoidably questioned her about George's intentions when she was in England visiting them. Clooney had an exciting evening planned in a typical rom-com way. Amal didn't know he was waiting to pop the question while making spaghetti. George requested Amal to light a candle with the lighter in the drawer where he had placed the ring, and they enjoyed a drink together. Popping the question. I did everything you were instructed to do, even getting down on my knee. His late aunt was the artist Rosemary Clooney, therefore I had a playlist of Rosemary's songs on it. I was anticipating the song Why Shouldn't I? He gave the Hollywood Reporter an explanation. Clooney waited on his knee for 20 minutes while Amal gaped in silence. By the time they were engaged, they had only known one another for 9 months, but that didn't concern them either. They knew their big debut was imminent and prepared to face the world together. Red Carpet Debut. One fantastic method to stand out in Hollywood's eyes is to walk the red carpet with your fiancé and a rock on your finger. This was now an aspect of Amal Alamuddin's life that she couldn't avoid despite her lack of involvement in the celebrity sphere. On September 7, 2014 in Tuscany, Italy, George and Amal made their red carpet debut at the Celebrity Fight Night event after a summer engagement celebration. Clooney couldn't have looked more pleased as Amal gleamed in front of the cameras while matching in black silk attire. Announcing to the world. Although he doesn't waste time, George Clooney is a traditional celebrity who prefers to do things old-fashioned. There's no Instagram announcement for the Clooneys. Instead, like any eager soon-to-be groom, George stepped in front of the world to get his humanitarian award and chimed in on his upcoming big day. I met my lovely bride-to-be here in Italy, whom I will be marrying in a couple of weeks in Venice, of all places. I would just like to say to my bride-to-be, Amal, that I love you so much and I can't wait to be your husband, he said on the podium. What a challenging launch! Wedding bells. Despite his prominence, Clooney has always said that he prefers to keep things fairly private or on his terms. Although he didn't precisely avoid the spotlight, there were certain aspects of partnership that he preferred to keep quiet. When the time arrived, everyone was waiting to see whether they would marry secretly or flaunt their lavish wedding. Whether they wanted it or not, it was just a question of time before their 4-day experience turned into a public spectacle. Public display. George and Amal began the festivities by welcoming their family and a posse of famous friends to the City of Love after arriving in Venice, Italy on September 26, 2014. The pair had their wedding at the 7-star Aman Canal Grand Hotel while wearing expensive attire. As the Clooneys held many pre-ceremony lunches and dinners, Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, and John Krasinski were among 100 other guests wearing their wedding attire. In Venice, paparazzi soon learned about the spectacle and gathered close to get a view of the event. The big day for the pair was coming quickly. 72-hour wedding. Finally, on September 27, 2014, George and Amal Clooney arrived at the ceremony by taxi boats, navigating the photographer-lined canals. Locals gathered on the canal's banks and stood on bridges to see the bride and groom. The couple tried to blend in among the cameras and bystanders, but quickly had second thoughts. As we sat on the boat, I thought, you know what? We're hiding, but why? We're ducking, but why? Clooney told The Hollywood Reporter. We shouldn't be ashamed of this, and we got up and waved. Expensive ordeal. After 4 days of festivities, the Clooney wedding swiftly emerged as the season's most talked about event. The next day, after the secret hotel ceremony, the couple formally announced their marriage in a 14-minute civil ceremony. Alessandro Greco, the boat driver, witnessed the ceremony presided over by former Rome mayor Walter Veltroni. According to E!, the 72-hour wedding cost an incredible $4.6 million. Even if she didn't begin her career as a Hollywood A-lister, Amal Clooney was undoubtedly one by this point. Married life. People officially covered their wedding photo session, and the new Mrs. Amal Clooney embraced her superstar position. The Clooneys retired from the spotlight after their wedding and resumed enjoying their private lives. The couple did not walk the red carpet together as a married couple until the Golden Globes in 2015. George's new wife supported him as he won a Lifetime Achievement Award. However, for George Clooney, everything changed once he met the human rights attorney. The dreaded question. All I know is that it sort of changed everything in terms of what I thought my future was going to be. But I've always been an optimist about the world. I wasn't always completely optimistic about how it would work out personally, but now I am, he told People. However, George and Amal Clooney began receiving the same question that most couples find impossible to avoid less than a year after their wedding. When are you having kids? No plans yet. No one understands this better than George Clooney. Avoiding intrusive inquiries is impossible when you're a Hollywood icon. The actor was questioned about his life outside of Hollywood and whether the pair intends to grow their family during the promotional tour for his latest film, Tomorrowland, where he co-starred with children. The two powerhouses had much more on their thoughts than children, and he told CBS This Morning, "I don't really think about it. I suppose I've thought about it, but it hasn't been high on my list." Philanthropy first. For the Clooneys, life has always been about so much more than Hollywood or children. Although he may have made his career as an actor, George has shifted his focus to philanthropy since he met Amal, and it's become important to him as acting. According to their website, George and Amal Clooney founded the Clooney Foundation for Justice in 2016, a joint venture organization whose goal is to create a world where human rights are protected and no one is above the law. Through the CFJ, they've built schools for refugees, contributed to disaster relief funds, and fought hate groups. It became their baby. However, the Clooneys had some exciting news to share. Baby news. The Clooneys were pretty quiet about it, and neither they nor their representatives issued a statement, so it was shocking when news broke in February 2017 that George and Amal were expecting their first child. It turned out that they were expecting twins, and at the time, the soon-to-be parents let everyone in both families know quietly, according to People. Of all the people who revealed the news, Clooney's longtime friend and co-star Matt Damon was the one who did so. Preparing for parenthood. We were working together last fall. He approached me on the set, took me aside, and told me I was so happy for him, Damon told Today, adding, and I was hugging him, and I said, "Well, so how far along is she?" He says, 8 weeks, and I'm like, "Don't say anything." Fortunately, Damon didn't say anything before he was meant to. However, the news quickly spread, and George transitioned from powerhouse heartthrob actor to full-fledged father. New additions. In a humorous statement announcing the birth, Amal and George Clooney wrote, "Ella, Alexander, and Amal are all healthy, happy, and doing fine. George is sedated and should recover in a few days." Amal and George Clooney became first-time parents in a London hospital on June 6, 2017 with the birth of their fraternal twins, whom they named Ella and Alexander. But why did they choose to have children so soon after getting married? Changing their minds. George Clooney explained their change of heart after declaring they didn't want children anytime soon. "My DNA had never included it. It was not in our plans. Oddly, we didn't discuss it until after we were married," George said to The Hollywood Reporter. "It was assumed that we were against their presence. Then, after the wedding, we both felt lucky and thought we should share our good fortune. Having it belong to us would appear self-serving," he said. Settling down. It was obvious that they intended to establish themselves in Italy, even if they'd been alternating between London and Italy. They'd initially met there, and George had no intention of selling or moving out of his opulent Lake Como estate. Since the Venice Film Festival was near home, the couple made their public debut as parents there to promote George's directorial film Suburbicon. These two new parents were happier and more in love than ever. Unlikely love story. George and Amal have never taken their unique love story for granted. Both are certain that they found the one and aren't scared to express it in a world where celebrity romances come and go. "I'd never experienced that before," George remarked on My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman. I felt like I had met someone whose life meant more to me than mine. I would, trade my life for them. The feeling's mutual. It's hard to believe these two aren't straight out of a romance novel. Amal knew her love for her husband was real, even though George Clooney was a movie star and seemingly everyone's celebrity crush for decades. She talked about it when she was featured on the cover of Vogue in April 2018. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. However, she admitted to Vogue that she thought she would never find her true love at one point, saying, "I was 35 when I met him. It wasn't obvious that it would happen to me." Terrible mistake. Although the Clooneys have yet to appear with their children publicly, they've not shied away from discussing them in interviews. In 2012, George revealed to CBS This Morning that they had made a terrible mistake by teaching their children Italian, a language neither he nor Amal speak. The Clooneys have chosen to keep this aspect of their lives private. It's not unusual for celebrities these days to keep their children hidden from social media and the media, and that's the path the Clooneys have taken with Ella and Alexander. Unconventional hobby. The kids are listening to heavy metal, Amal told Access Hollywood, and they're headbangers. The Clooneys hosted the Clooney Foundation for Justice's annual Albies, which celebrated their human rights work nearly 10 years after their wedding and 6 years after the birth of their twins. Not all of it is heavy metal. They may knock their heads against it because it's just heavy enough, George said. George Clooney said the couple remains modest when questioned about their marriage on the red carpet. George asked his 9-year wife, "My darling, do you feel like a power couple?" "Not really," she said. Looking to the future. Real-life romance was better than a fairy tale for one of history's most talked-about A-list couples. George and Amal Clooney are still together almost 10 years after their encounter. The Clooneys, who also have 2 Italian-speaking twins, maintain a strong marriage while juggling the demands of their separate and joint professional endeavors. We wish them well in the future and are excited to see what this unexpected pair, who overcame all difficulties to fall in love and have a happy life together, will do next. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon